Hello everyone and welcome to the Deeply Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deeply Renegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 81. Today is Sunday, March 21st, 2015, and I'm really glad I could join you guys, or you guys could join me today. I have a ridiculous amount to show you guys today. It was very lovely to take a week break. I probably did have time to record last week based on when we got back home, but it was like, So I got caught up around the house and stuff like that, so it worked out. But man, oh man, was there a lot of stuff that happened in that last 2 weeks. I'm almost done with this stupid cinnamon coffee. It's getting pretty close now. I just have my little Tupperware container I keep my grounds, and there is not much left of it anymore. So, where to start? There is a lot. So, I guess I can start with a finished object. So, what is it? Since the first of the year, I've been hosting the Something Special knit-along. And then this has been, what is it? Basically, the short answer is to take something that you've been holding off on doing, because it's so special, and actually getting around to doing it. So, what I finished is this hat. So it is out of some nestlets I ended up receiving as a prize for the combo spin-along, which I arranged into a gradient of sorts and then Navajo plied together. And so then I have my cowl, which has all of the colors in it, and then the hat, which has basically a lot of the red and orange and cool tones. And so then I wove in the ends this week, finally took care of that. And this is, I don't know, a hat that can go anywhere from slouchy to not. It has a really thick double brim, and it matches the cowl without being like super duper matchy. And so then you can wear it either with the honey side facing out or the ribbing facing out. It was just a matter of folding it one way or the other, which way works better. So it's sort of more of a beanie when you end up wearing the ribbing on the inside, and it hugs your head nicely, and it's pretty cool. So these two will be the prize for the Something Special cowl. So everything is good to go there. So the cowl can be worn once or twice. And even though it is no longer winter, I am really super duper excited to be able to send this off to whoever ends up winning it. So I'll do random number generator based on how many people have, submitted finished projects. So, finished object is the hat, but they're a prize for the Something Special cowl. So I have finished spinning, but I think I'll wait until spinning to show that. I have been working on the sweater. I don't even remember how much of the sweater I had finished before I'm not sure how much sweater I had finished the last time I podcasted. This is like the most ridiculous stealth project ever. So, where do I stand right now? I have a back that's being somewhat held on a waist yard. I have a, what would this be? I have the right front, and I have a left front now. So that was what I had finished up this afternoon. I really wanted to, I had totally forgotten to, what is it, bring the pattern yesterday when I was at the DFW Fiber Fest, so I wanted to have it all done before I podcasted. And so right now my needles are empty. I still need to cast on the sleeves, but this is a gray cardigan from Mother Daughter Knits, which is by Sally Melville and Caddy Melville, and the gray cardigan is one of Sally's patterns. And I don't think it's actually going to nicely open to that page. Nope, wrong page. So, there we go. Really big photo of the gray cardigan. And that's something I'm showing up pretty well right now. So, that will be what it looks like when it's done. So this has been my primary knitting project. I'm actually really glad I started another one yesterday, because that was pretty much the only knitting I brought with me yesterday. So I'll be starting a sleeve pretty soon. So I have, what is it? This is how much I have left of the first ball of yarn. So I might actually be able to make a whole Wool Mice sweater with just 2 balls, which I find to be really interesting. And this is the second one, so I still have quite a lot of it, because I have a third skein I haven't even wound yet. I will need to break into the second one, but it doesn't look like I'm going to need to break into the third. So I found that to be really interesting. I'm not it might turn out that I use the gray yarn as like accent for a different sweater I want to make. We shall see with the other Wool Mice DK, which I overdyed, which I don't have with me because there's just so much to show. But that is moving along. I'll probably be casting on a sleeve sometime today. It looks like the sleeve will be pretty mindless, at least for the beginning. Oh no, there's nothing complicated about the sleeve, but the trouble with the sleeve is boredom. And I'll have to think a little bit about if I need to make any adjustments to the sleeve, because it sort of depends on the age of the pattern writer. If the pattern writer is within, I don't know, 10 years of my age, like the sleeves will fit my arms normally. If the pattern writer is closer to the age of my mom, then the sleeves end up being really big. So not sure the why, but it's something that I can mod. The only mod I did on the sweater is I actually did the measurements, and so Sally Melville writes her pattern, so the shoulder width is 15 inches or something like that, and my shoulder width is 15 3/4, so I did less decreases in the arm shaping in order to make the shoulders the right width, for lack of a better word. Okay, so in terms of spinning, alright, I'm going to drink some coffee and then I'm going to think about spinning. This is my second cup for the day, and it is like 4 in the afternoon. Ah, so terrible. And I can't talk about spinning because I'm not done talking about knitting. Okay. So, I started a new project yesterday. I took the Dear Sweet Lovable one and I showed him all of my sock pattern books and kept asking him if there was anyone that he would really like. And so what he ended up picking, oddly enough, he gave me 2 possibilities, and then he wanted a blue main color and then a red contrasting color. So what I am knitting now is the Union Jack socks from Think Outside the Socks. And what's sort of hilarious is he's going through this and he's like, some of these socks are like horrible, and it's true. Not all of the socks in Think Outside of the Socks make any sense at all, because it was a contest. and some of them were so this is, I better just pull out the pattern so I can show you. Unfortunately, the pattern, they didn't really pick the right yarn to show off the pattern. And so the pattern is done toe up, but I am not going to do that. I'm knitting a cuff down. And so it's the Union Jack Argyle by Janice Talkington of Saginaw, Michigan. Blah. And here is the sock. I'm trying not to show a lot of the chart is, since this is just a 2-page spread, the chart is there. I don't know, is a 22 stitch square chart, and it ends up making something that looks sort of like the Union Jack, when all is said and done. So it'll be really cute. I'm using the Woolmeister Dora, and the Fiber Webs sock yarn. So I got the Fiber Webs yarn in a swap from my Australian partner, so it's not really a yarn you can normally get, or it's local to her. And then the Woolmeister is the leftovers from my latest pair of grandpa socks. So this is going to have this really striking sort of geometrical diagonal sort of colorwork pattern, and I'm beginning to realize that the Dear Sweet Lovable one only really likes colorwork when it comes to socks. Colorwork is what makes for him ridiculous socks, or like really crazy hair. I'm not sure. So that is the story there. So it's coming along. I am, 4 rows into the chart now. So it'll be a lot more to see once I get a full repeat in. And it's, I don't know, it's just a cool geometric pattern. So I figured it was interesting enough for me to knit, but socks, because I love socks. So at this point, I'm getting pretty close to starting socks for myself. But I really wanted to knit a pair of socks, and here they are. So, and I'm keeping this in the bag from Joyety, and I have to thank extra good thoughts for her, because the reason why I didn't record last week was because I was at her wedding. So, yay! It was a successful marriage. So now I can talk about spinning, because I'm done talking about knitting. I honestly can't remember if I showed this 2 weeks ago, or I probably showed it in some state of unfinished, but I finished my first skein using my wheel to do the chocolate Shetland fleece. And I put forth a bajillion and a half questions to the internet as to whether or not the fact that since this was, 112 yards instead of 80 yards for a 2-ounce skein, if that was going to be a problem. And the internet said it would be fine. So I'm going to continue spinning with the wheel for the rest of this project, because it went way faster on the wheel, and the quality was good, if not even a little bit finer than the initial skein. So I'm really excited about that. It is cable ply construction, and I don't think you can see anything at all about the skein. The natural light is actually really good today, but it's showing up really horrible on my camera, so I'm sorry about that. I don't think that turning on the lights is going to necessarily make it any better. But, so 112 yards, 6 ounces, and it still hasn't gotten its bath yet, which is why I'm just sort of leaving it in the skein. It was sitting near the sink to get its bath. I totally didn't get around to it in the last 2 weeks, so yeah, oh well. So it was pretty cool. So I will probably have to pick up the pace pretty soon, but I had a different deadline that I wanted to meet for spinning. And here is the next one that's going to get spun. I had it sitting out by the wheel last week or something like that after I finally got the answer for if that was going to be close enough. But something else jumped in mind, so I'm just holding up for a little bit. So what was it? Before I left for the wedding, I ended up finally getting something in the mail. So I ended up needing to take a sick day a few weeks ago, and it turned out coincidentally that the sick day coincided with a surprise update for Hello Yarn with the Completely Twisted and Arbitrary group. Adrienne of Hello Yarn is doing a spin-along. It finishes up March 31st. And the colorway, and she made 2 colorways based on Baroque paintings, and I picked the one which came from the painting of a woman spinning. Because I like those colors better. So this is my first time spinning Rambouillet, which is, I think, technically speaking, French Merino. And this is, so I got 4 ounces of this in Rambouillet. I tried to buy 8, but it was all out of stock. And this is the remaining 1.2 ounces of the 4, because the rest of it is on my wheel, which is, interestingly enough, sitting barely out of frame. You don't know how much crap I have sitting around here. It's sort of hilarious. So this is, whatever, this is my Lendrum hanging out over here. And then this is how much I've spun so far. I'm really filling up the bobbin at this point. I'm not sure if I can get the remaining on here, but I'm trying. So this would also probably count as stash positions, like geez Louise. It's the month of March, I'm sorry. I go a little bit crazy mad. So there are browns and oranges and greens and blues and sort of teals and definitely the yellows. The yellows are really bold. And so what I did for this fiber was I split it down the middle in half, and then I took one of those halves and then I stripped it into 8ths. And so I finished spinning the shorter lengths, and I'm now spinning the big chunk. So I guess I'm almost nearly halfway done with the big chunk, and I'm all putting it on the same bobbin because I'm going to 2-ply it, back on itself. And then have basically a fractal spun 2-ply, because barber pulling is fun. And I figure all of these colors, they tend to come from basically the same quadrant of the color wheel, so it should look pretty good as a fractal. Other people have done gorgeous things with chain plying and stuff like that, but meh. I just figured that was going to be the right treatment of it. What's interesting is this is actually the 3rd batch of the updates, and so it's the case where, for whatever reason, it seems to have a lot more green in it than the other varieties, which is fine. I could definitely use a little bit of variety in colors of spinning. But it's interesting just because how much it has evolved over whatever the short amount of time the spin along has been going on. So I need to finish this by the 31st, and I don't think that's actually going to be a problem, but it means that I sort of bumped some other things in order to get it on. I would say, in terms of the fact that Hello Yarn is, for the most part, unobtainable, I definitely prefer Nest over Hello Yarn, which is really good to know. We'll see once I do the finished skein how over the moon I am, but at this point it'd be the case where I've sort of decided it's not worth the bother. So that was really good to know. it is lovely stuff. It is spinning up great. It's just the case where I'm not going to go to extreme lengths in order to stalk, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? It's not like I've become hopelessly addicted and must buy all of the things. So that was really good stuff. It's nice stuff, and just, I guess, what is it? It is nice stuff. I'm enjoying spinning it. I do not understand the hype, if that makes any sense. So it's nice. It's just not like, Nest is like, to me. Which is very good to know. I am glad that I have figured this out. So, at the DFW Fiber Fest, I took a spinning class with JC Boggs. It was really, really interesting. So the class I took was chain plying, and so it was a 3-hour class, and we spent most of it doing singles, and then she ended up teaching us a very clean and beautiful way to create chain ply yarn using a wheel. There is no way I could replicate this doing it on a spindle. Which is sort of unfortunate, because like the quality of the yarn like really was quite amazing. So I spun 2 skeins for the class, and then I ended up bringing along this one because this was an example of a recent chain ply that I done. Technically speaking, my hat and cowl set is also an example of a recent chain ply or Navajo ply sort of thing. So this is the Nest combo spin from January. This is a traditional 3-ply that we spun at the beginning of the class. So this is the case where you took your fiber and then you chunked it into 3 things. And I haven't done anything really to these 2 yarns. Honestly, there's not very much of it at all there. So this was the traditional one. So it was the case where we tried to line up the colors in plying, but obviously there's a certain heatheredness to it. And I would say I probably did a decent job of spinning it. It probably has 2 twists, so I guess that, whatever, is good to know that I can make a decent 3-ply yarn. It's been a while since, never mind, I'm lying, because this guy was the leftovers from my 3-ply. So, whatever. So, made a couple yards of this just to be able to look and see and compare. And I believe the fiber is a BFL. It was actually really a lot of fun to spin this dark blue stuff. And then we ended up spending most of the class spinning the singles for this. And so this is the chain ply skein that I ended up making. It's probably a little over twisted. My question from the class, which actually turned out to be one that was really hard to answer. So I actually put this on my skein winder, so it's actually a normal sort of thing. And there's like a lot of twist. I guess it hasn't had its bath yet, but we're talking 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so it's fairly over twisted. It feels really good, and it looks absolutely amazing. Oh my goodness gracious. Like, and it's the case where the technique is really great because it allows for me to make much, much, much larger loops than I was previously doing. So, what was it? Because I taught myself how to do chain plying basically on my own. There was a little demonstration at my spinning class that I took a couple of years ago. If you want to hear discussion about that guy, that's probably from the very beginning of my podcast. I did that in June of 2013. But I just find it to be absolutely... So it was the case where I could make loops that were as far as I could reach. Like, 3D. And whatever, sort of dispel some of the myths associated with chain ply, and all that other sort of crazy goodness. But what I have on top here is the skein from before, and what I have underneath is the new skein. And I don't know, I will gently, gingerly hold this in front of the screen and see whether or not it actually focuses. It might be focusing, maybe. That sort of thing. But there is a really big difference in the evenness of it all. So it was just the case where it was like very efficient, very fast, very straightforward. And so for the next time that I really want to make, a chain ply yarn, I'm really excited to use this technique again. So it's something where you keep one hand close to your body at all times, and you're using the other hand to feed to the wheel, and this hand is staying close by, and as you're pulling back on the yarn, you sort of scoop up the single, and so you can make really, really massive loops, and it's really simple and ergonomic to do. So I was, incredulous at the start, whatever, or what would it be? I wasn't sure how much I was going to learn, and it turned out that it was, I was just like showing everyone how awesome it turned out. So, was it worth the money? It may have been worth the money if there was more than one technique in the class, but it turned out to be a pretty good one. And there were people there who were doing a full weekend of JC Boggs. Like, they took 6. They were taking 6 of her classes. So, she was a very good teacher. I didn't actually need the one-on-one help. She had a couple, I don't know, my only question to her was, like, how do you fix it when your single breaks? Because that happens to me all the time. It always seems like there's a bad solution for it. And the true answer was there wasn't any good solutions. But she was very helpful, and it was very interesting, for example, to see all the different wheels people brought. And I ended up sitting next to Heidi of the Undead Yarn podcast, and she was a really lovely class buddy, so that was cool. And what was it? I think Steph from the Mustache podcast was also taking the class as well, so it was interesting. And I'm so excited with this new skill, and coming in, looking to learn, and then actually being successful, which is pretty cool. So, I think, oh wait, that isn't it for spinning though, because I did work a bit on the camel silk. So, that is the story there. So, I am still working on this. I think I still have a lot left thinking about it. Let's see, I brought my scale up. Where's my scale? Hiding. There we go. So, camel silk. Well, I fumble around for my scale to figure out how much I actually have left of the camel silk. It might be a little bit embarrassing. So, I have been trying to bring it with me to knitting. I didn't end up bringing it with me yesterday because there was just so much crap. So I brought my wheel with me to Fiberfest in order to take the class. And so what this meant was that I didn't really want to mess around with also carrying around my spindle because I felt a little bit like a bag lady. Because I had a bag for purchases, and I had my knitting bag, and here is the braid. It is still braided because I am not sure what sort of unholy mess would occur if I did not leave it as a braid. And it is a little bit challenging making it all go on there. So there is 3.2 ounces left. There is no way I'm finishing this by the end of March. No way! Oh my goodness gracious, this is going to be a long project. I apologize, I'm going to be talking about this camel silk until the end of the year, when I'm going to be frantically trying to finish it for Spin the Bin. Oh, silly. I probably should be working on this while I watch podcasts. So the camel silk has been going very slowly. I've spun more than half an ounce, but this means I am only, whatever, a small portion of the way through with this guy, so, whoops. So it is coming out very fine, and I only work on it maybe about an hour a week, so I might need to get with the program a little bit and spend a little bit more time making, and I might not even be spending an hour a week working on this, so when I do some podcast catching, I'll need to, go from there. So that is the camel silk, and that is all the spinning that's worth to talk about. Lots of stuff for this episode. It's going to be a long one because I still need to show the stash position. So I already showed the Hello Yarn fiber as stash position number 1. I have not yet received my first Into the World order, which I am really looking forward to that. But I did end up buying 4 things at the Fiber Fest, and I got 1 thing for free in the bag. So, unfortunately, it's a bit out of reach. Because there's a lot of crap. So, DFW Fiber Fest was this weekend. It finished up today. I didn't end up going today. I did go on, I did go Friday night, and we ended up having knitting group by the Fiber Fest instead of at our normal location. And then I ended up going pretty much the entire day on Saturday, which was yesterday. And because I am local, it's a 40-minute drive from like my house to where the convention is, which isn't insignificant, but in the area, it normally takes at least 15 minutes to get anywhere, so that's like the minimum amount of time you spend in a car, so then it was, whatever, 2 to 3 times the minimum, and that's not so bad. So I actually got there before my enabling buddy got there. So Sarah's my enabling buddy. Our birthdays are actually 1 day apart, so we both love blue, and we both love birthday months. So she had her birthday money to spend, and I just had my normal itch to buy knitting things in March, so it worked out really, really well. So I got there first. I sort of wandered around half the area, taught half of the, half of the market, and like, it was a case where I sort of went around and figuring out the things that I could live without. I introduced Sarah to Stacy of Mustache Yarns because Sarah's going to be moving to San Antonio soon, so I wanted to make sure she had the knitting group hookup. And when I was there, I ended up picking up a skein of Martian Rainbow number 12. And I showed this to the Dear Sweet Lovable one, and he says it is quite possible that he could accept socks with this. And I ended up getting the OCD skeins because they didn't just have like the normal skeins. I'm not actually really an OCD sock knitter, though. I guess with what is it? This is an 8-stripe rainbow. So let's see. We got the two skeins. So this is an 8-stripe rainbow. So I suppose in this regard, having a stripy yarn like this, it actually is a little bit nice for them to start at the same spot. But my husband thinks it could make really awesome socks for him. So I don't know if maybe I'll make like matching socks with like a black and have some for him and some for me. I'm not sure, because this is like, I don't think I own anything so vivid. Even with the wool I saw, this is like ridiculously bright. Oh my goodness. So I was really excited about that. By the time I had finally decided to purchase things, which was, I don't know, maybe sometime mid-morning, a lot of the stock at Mustache Yarns was actually, or what is it? So some of the crazier self-striping yarn was no longer in stock. And what was funny was that I guess JC Boggs went to visit the market and she noticed that there was a line at Stacy's shop, and so she decided that since everyone else wanted to have it, she needed to have it too. So I'm really excited for Stacy's success there, because her stuff was definitely stood out. And so the other colorways that she had in her shop were much more demure, but this just sort of called to me. So would I normally spend that much on stripy sock yarn? No. It just seemed too amazing to leave behind, so that was probably the splurge of the day. And that was the first thing that I bought. The second thing that I got was stuff from Alicia Goes Around. Alicia Goes Around is a dyer local to San Antonio, so the Texas shows are a really big deal for her, and she only goes to shows. She doesn't have an online shop, so you can only really pick it up and things like that. And I ended up getting two things. I got Walk of Snipes Fingering in who the hell knows what colorway. I don't think she names her colorways, actually. And I really wanted to have a speckle dye. I don't own any speckle dye, and there were a couple people who were doing speckle dye, and I decided to go with Alicia's speckle dye. So it's 75% merino, 25% nylon. It's a 435 grams per skein, so a pretty light fingering, all things considered. It has a good twist. It'll make good sock yarn. It has a lovely hand, and it's all speckly and blue. So it has blues and greens and whites in it, and so I think it was pretty lovely. And probably going to be socks for me, probably some sort of simple pattern to show them off. Like maybe I'll finally get around to knitting Hermione's everyday sock. The other thing I bought from her booth was 8 ounces of fiber. So this is 65% superwash merino and 35% silk, and it's very similar to the other colorway. I was sort of fondling all of the things. So then this has blues and purples and greens and teals, and it is a lot of fiber. It was really reasonably priced for merino silk. So that was what I went for. And it's like 8 ounces. It was like, I can make something big out of this. I'm thinking, what is it? Something like like this might be like a lace weight sweater sort of thing, provided I actually spin lace weight, but so something like the DFW or something like that. Because it's still on my radar, you know what I mean? I still wanted in myself that sort of sweater. And there's also like darker bits in this as well. And I just played a little bit with the drafting of it. It's going to draft great. So really looking forward to this. The deer student will run this home. And the last thing I ended up picking up, which I picked up after my class because I had so much fun spinning the dark blue, was I picked up some Western Sky Knits. So this is in, what is this? Night Pool colorway? I think it is Night Pool. And it's 75% BFL and 25% black BFL. And it's 4 ounces. So it has browns and tans and grays and dark blues and light blues. So this is probably going to be a sock yarn of some sort. And yeah, no, I was just really excited about spinning the dark blue and realized I didn't have any dark blue fiber. So that was what I ended up going with. And the other thing I ended up getting was, since I signed up to take a class, all of the students ended up getting a skein of yarn, so I ended up getting a skein of Cherub DK in the color 49. So this is from Cascade. It is a 55% nylon, 45% acrylic, and it has a really lovely hand. I think there's just something about adding nylon to things that ends up resulting in it having a good hand. Not sure what I'm going to make with it, or whether it's just going to be like swap fodder or something like that. I'm not sure. I'm not particularly keen. It's sort of a gray-blue color, or a gray that has sort of bluishness to it. So it's 50 grams, 180 yards. And that's actually pretty light. This is probably much closer to a sport weight than anything else. So that is the story there. So it'll go in the stash. It will, whatever, not help the stash totals any, but such is life. Need to stretch. So it was, whatever, a tremendously fun weekend. To say the least. So, I think that is actually everything I wanted to talk about. So, new knitting, new spinning, new crazy deadlines. The usual. But I'm really happy with what I ended up picking up, and I'm excited about my new project, and I'm nearly done with the sweater for some reason. I don't know. There was a lot of knitting time. So, it was pretty exciting. So, what is it? So, today is the 21st. I will be recording again on the 28th of March, and that'll be my last episode before the end of the Something Special call. So, I really hope you guys join in. I really need to take some pictures of those and put them on Ravelry and put them in the thread too, so no worries there. But I think that's everything, so I look forward to speaking with you guys next week, and I hope you guys all have a great week. So take care, guys. Bye-bye.